Matters is brought to you live by Bahamas Maritime Connection.
What is maritime?
Maritime, simply put, relates to navigation or commerce on the high seas.
Some say money makes the world go round. I say ships move the money that make the world move.
Who navigates those large international ships?
How often are international ships required to be surveyed and inspected?
Maritime has to protect our seas and waters by way of our local Bahamas Defense
It is
Force.
very sad to say that out of 1,500 plus ships that are registered under the Bahamian flag, only a very small amount of Bahamians are employed.
Maritime Matters.
And pleasant good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you to Maritime Matters. Whether you're listening via radio wave on 97.5 FM, via an internet radio app, via Cable Bahamas channel 951, or via BTC Flow TV channel 606. We appreciate you and we humbly welcome you to our show. We encourage you to check out our YouTube page, Maritime Matters Bahamas. Just go on YouTube, search, plug in Maritime Matters Bahamas, and you will be able to pull up all of our previous shows, and you can listen in at your own leisure. That's Maritime Matters Bahamas. Again, pleasant good evening. I am Captain Glenn Bain. This is show number 35. You believe that? 35 already? Boy, I feel like I'm 35 years old again, eh? Boy, how we wish. Tonight, we shall engage discussions on a long-awaited and hot item topic: Haitian migration. We're going to discuss the dreaded 600-plus mile ocean crossing voyage on unseaworthy craft. The many lives lost based on these daredevil trips. The cannibalistic behavior when things become desperate on board what we refer to as the rickety Haitian sloops. The panic at the landing as so many of the passengers are non-swimmers. Equally, we want to engage how those passengers are absorbed into shanty towns until they become familiar enough to move into the broader surrounding areas. What strategies have been administered to stave off this threat, and what are the current strategies like? We're going to have ourselves a good time tonight, people. Our sponsors for tonight's show are One-on-One Pharmacy. Listen in, you know the deal. When you go in One-on-One Pharmacy, you're going to be treated with utmost royalty. Check out my good cousin Shantia McBride, her lovely team at One-on-One Pharmacy. Fill out your prescription at the store, or send your refills via the online site oneononepharmacy.com. That's One-on-One-Pharmacy, all lowercase, all one word, .com. They are located on East Street South, and the second location is Charles Sanders Highway. When you get in there, you just say hello. Ask for my good cousin Stephanie. Oh, that's my girl. We grew up together in Royal Avenue, and big up to Royal Avenue. And for those of you who don't know, our dear Prime Minister also grew up in Royal Avenue. So Royal Avenue, big ups. We are secondly sponsored by BMC. That's Bahamas Maritime Connection Limited. And at BMC, we provide a full slate of ISPS maritime security services. So if you're into maritime, you'll know what I'm talking about. To the listening audience, please, you know it would be remiss of me to go any further and not introduce my wonderful producer. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you the insatiable, the man of the hour, the man with all the power. King on the wheels of steel, he is fully able, quite capable, the one and only, Craig Gibson. Yes, and he salutes like the military folks do. We roll with military up in here. We talking maritime, we talking military, all that in maritime, eh? Thank you very much, correct? You're listening to Maritime Matters, people. On this show, we talk maritime. Maritime Matters airs weekly at 19:30, that's 7:30 p.m. every Tuesday night here on Love 97 FM. The purpose of our show is to highlight persons that made significant contributions to the maritime industry in the Bahamas and to sensitize Bahamians of opportunities in the maritime sector. And we'll take a twist tonight, of course, with that purpose and discuss the maritime journey of the Haitian nationals seeking a better life. Halfway through the show, we will open the phone lines. Probably do that a little earlier than halfway because you stuck with me tonight. Ain't no guest tonight. Don't look for nobody else in here. I am in here and you are out there and me and you come boogie tonight. So halfway through the show, we'll open the phone lines. The number you will reach us on is 326-8255. I say again, 326-8255. Feel free to call any maritime topic, whether it's on our discussion tonight with the Haitian Migration or it's on some other maritime. We'll be happy to field it for you. Boy, but I don't know if we have time today because this show is very loaded. I can tell you this is going to be awesome tonight. Again, as always, I want to highlight our outstanding maritime heroes of the past. And we hope that someday we could highlight some of the present. Once you become a household name, you just let us know. Well, we'll know. If you're a household name, we'll know, and we'll put you on this list. The HMBS Flamingo champion skipper, the captain of that ill-fated Royal Bahamas Defense Force, brand new. The ship was only about, 2 years old? Amos Roll was the first and only captain of that ship, and he was the last one to leave the ship after trying to keep his ship going. Senior Commander Amos Roll. We have the port controller of all times, then and now, Mr. Leon Flowers. We have our legendary sloop sailing champion, pioneer. He went again and again and again, hailing deep out of Staniel Key. Cap, we call him, the great Captain Raleigh Gray. Then we have our gold medalists in Olympics. You know, when Sir Derwent Knowles and Cecil Cook won that gold medal, we didn't hear the national anthem of the Bahamas. Why? Because the Bahamas had no national anthem. They played God Save the Queen. Because the Bahamas was one of the subjects of Great Britain. And here we stand today, years later, and we still know that Sir Derwent Knowles and Cecil Cook made our country proud. And therefore, make some of our maritime heroes of the past. We are talking maritime, people. You are listening to Maritime Matters. At this point, I can move to my first break because when we return, we got a loaded gun. We gonna be boogieing tonight. Don't touch that dial because you know you don't want to miss this one.
Ready to serve you. Visit us today for all your prescription and over-the-counter needs at our East Street South or Charles Sanders Highway location. We're open Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and from 9 to 4 on Sundays. In a rush? Send your refill scripts online at oneononepharmacy.com or ask about our convenient pickup service. One-on-One Pharmacy, providing personal health care with people at heart. At Bahamas Maritime Connection Limited, we offer first-class maritime security services throughout the Bahamas and the wider Caribbean. As experts in maritime security, we specialize in production of ISPS assessments and plans, verification audits, certified familiarization training, and port security consultancy, just to name a few. Our services Services also include provision of a security force to maintain all required ISCS facility security compliance. For all your maritime security needs, visit us today in Nassau at our East Street South location or in Freeport in the Kipling building. Call us at 392-3515 or follow us on all social media platforms. Bahamas Maritime Connection, your leader in maritime security. Let's help you make the connection.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. You're listening to Maritime Matters, and I am your host, Captain Glenn Bain, and we are about to take a deep dive. We're talking Haitian migration. According to the United Nations Population Division, the estimated numbers of Haitian migrant populations worldwide are as follows. The United States, the largest Haitian immigration population in the world, outside of Haiti that is, with an estimate 705,000 Haitians. 705,000 Haitians are estimated to be in the United States. And this is as of 2020. So this is just about a year and a half, 2 years old. Dominican Republic would be the second most populated country with Haitians outside of Haiti. And they're clocking in with 1.5 of that figure, 496,000. And these are just estimates based on the United Nations Population Division. So DOMREP, or Dominican Republic, hosts over 496,000. Third on the list, would you believe it? Chile. We say the Bahamas is not that far from Haiti. But you can imagine Chile. Chile is, how do they get to Chile? I don't know. But Chile has over 237,000 Haitians across their country. Canada. They're pretty far too, eh? Canada hosts over 101,000. Just over 100,000 Haitians are estimated to be in Canada. And of course, France, who's the motherland to Haiti, for those who are not so sure, well, used to be the motherland to Haiti before they took all the reparations. And, well, I don't know the history, I'm not a historian, but, we talk about these things all the time. France clocking in with over 85,000 Haitians in France. And again, that is from the United Nations Population Division. They fail to mention the Bahamas in that lot. But we know, I know. We have, well, in my opinion, I don't know. In my opinion, based on what I see, based on what I know, based on my 60 years on this earth, we got to have well over 100,000 Haitians in the Bahamas. Perhaps just in Nassau. But Haitians are our brothers and sisters. Haitians are people just like us. And the thing about it is the Haitians that we encounter, they represent Haiti. But there's a lot of Haitians that we don't encounter. That if we do encounter them, we will get a totally different view on how we see Haitians as we know it. And I had the good graces of encountering quite a few middle-class Haitians. I wouldn't say upper-class, middle-class Haitians. And I can tell you, these people ain't nothing to play with. Let's talk about that dreaded 600-mile ocean crossing voyage on unseaworthy craft. Well, we say unseaworthy. That is based on the conventions of the IMO, like the SOLAS and the Caribbean Code and the SCV Code. It's based on what is already in writing for vessels to comply with. Because I can tell you, these Haitian sloops ain't no joke. They're not rickety. You can hardly sing them. And I'll give you an experience. In the past, in the 80s, 70s, and 80s, and even in the 90s, most of the Haitians were leaving Haiti on these sailing sloops, and they don't have any engine. They like the very similar to, well, not very similar, but they designed and built on the same principle as we build our vessels that we sail at regattas. They don't have engines. They just sail, and I can tell you, those Haitian captains could sail. I see them tacking in Nassau Harbor a couple of times when they used to come here in the 90s. And they so good, and that's all they do. So they know, I don't know what they'll do if they get in one of our regattas, those ones who run those boats. But obviously, those days are gone. That time has passed. I don't know if we'll ever see those days again. But let's discuss it tonight and get to the bottom. I can even tell you how it stopped, when it stopped, why it stopped. But that's just a part of the conversation. They usually take anywhere between 3 and 5 weeks to make landfall at Nassau once they leave Cape Haitian or whichever one of the Haitian ports on one of those sloops. Technically, they take between 3 and 5 weeks. Sometimes a little longer, sometimes they do a little quicker, depending on the wind. Sometimes the wind may not be blowing even 5 knots. So if the wind is negligible, any sailboat that doesn't have an engine is going to take far longer to reach their destination. And it's no different with these sloops. The sloops are very heavy. If you take them on the water, they weigh a lot because those wood are solid wood. So you need some wind in order to move those boats to any significant, to get even 2 or 3 knots. So what was my first encounter? In 1984, I engaged my first experience in arresting a loaded Haitian sloop. It was during my very first 60-foot patrol craft command on the HMBS Eleuthera. I was I was what? 20, 21, just going on 22. And of course, I came from Dartmouth at the age of 20. So 2 years later, my first command was HMBS Eleuthera. That was a 60-foot patrol boat, one of the older ones. The newer ones would have been HMBS Inago, HMBS Exuma, HMBS Abaco. They would be the 3 new ones. But the older ones, Andros, the Eleuthera, the Acklins, and the Sansal. I happen to be on one of the old ones called the Eleuthera. The Eleuthera and Andros are still around. The Sansal, I think one of them caught a fire, and the Acklins and the Sansal, and they were gone before I got back from Dartmouth. But anyway, we had just left Coral Harbor Base. It was around 2100. And, well, for those who don't know, 2100 is 9 p.m., right? Because we had some problems getting that boat sorted out to get out of Coral Harbor Base to commence the patrol. But, of course, we held the crew back, got it fixed, and then we went out there. About 5 miles out, we smelled the sloop from about 2 miles away. I mean, you could smell the stench. Why would you smell that stench? You're going to smell the stench because you got a boat loaded with bodies that were on the sea for weeks. No bathroom on board. No space on board to have a bathroom. No water. Well, you got seawater. But we could have smelled it. So we knew there's a Haitian boat, and we ventured to find it. Because, back then we had a radar, but, the radar wasn't, we didn't even start to engage the radar properly. And the radar wasn't working very well on the Eleuthera. Otherwise, we would not have seen. Why would you not have seen it? Because it was dark, it was night, and they don't have any lights. They don't have any generator. They don't have any power on the boat. It's impossible for them to have light. Obviously, after 3 weeks out to sea, they wouldn't have a flashlight that works. So we were able to find them because we smelled them. And that may not sound very good, but, that is what happened. So here I was at age 21, commanding this 60-foot patrol boat with 14 crew members and engaging a 45-foot sailing sloop with 73 personnel on board. So we called into Coral Harbor. Oh, we came across a Haitian vessel. They got like 73 weeks. Well, we said they loaded. We didn't know how many people it was at that point. So they ordered us to take the personnel on board the Eleuthera and sink the Haitian sloop. So after expending almost half of our artillery on the hull, and you know what I mean by expending half of our artillery, we just load up that GPMG and we just keep shooting out. Actually, we flipped it over first, but it wouldn't sink. So even after we done put all those bullets, those 7.62 rounds in it, I mean hundreds of them, it's still, you could see some holes, but it ain't sinking because the type of wood, even though it get hole, it ain't about to sink. So we decided to light it a fire, see if we could get some better results. After watching it burn for the better part of 3 hours, it slowly started to submerge. So we paid out another 25% of our GPMG rounds, and in about 2 hours later, the hull went under. So it took us hours to sink that one boat, because the material that the boat is made of, the wood, the very strong wood out of Haiti, is very hard to become submerged. Meantime, my crew, they were fully engaged in treating the passengers. Those Haitians, a lot of them were feeble. They haven't eaten in weeks. They needed water. They needed food. They needed bandages because they had a lot of sores on their skin and abrasions and I mean it was a sight to behold, I can tell you. We had to ensure that they were assembled on board the vessel up on the bow. We couldn't put them in the patrol boat, so we kept them all on the bow, and we didn't want anybody to fall overboard. The people were weak, so we had to make sure they had good seating, good grip, and of course we have to now rear up on our speed and take them back to the base. So that's what my crew were doing in the meantime. Some was engaged in trying to sing the hull. The rest of us, we were just making sure that people were being taken care of. So when we started to interview, because of course, ain't much of them could speak any English. So the one or two that could speak a little English, we talking with them, engaging them in discussion. And you know what we found out? We found out that some of the people had died during that 3-week journey. And they were dumped into the sea. So they had more than, because when we did the count, it came to like 70-something people. They had more than that, but some of them died and they dumped them in the sea during that 3 weeks. Before they dumped them in the sea, they cut arms and legs and limbs and off the body. You know why? Because they had no food and that's what they ate. So the survivors on board that vessel were actually eating human flesh to survive. And I'm not making this up, people. This is the reality of what they go through out there sometimes. Because they don't have no space on the boat to carry no food and water and stuff like that. Because people occupy every single conceivable space. So after a week, 2 weeks, they may have had a little water that, they would drink a little bit to keep them going, but they had no food. And people could start dropping out. And that is the experience. Me, as a 21-year-old, understood what's going on as I made this arrest. This was mind-blowing. I could never forget it. On another occasion, a few months later, a loaded sloop overturned in the area off Norman's Key, just off Norman's Key Spit. I don't know if the boat hit the spit, but they turned and in that situation, when we got on the scene, many bodies were floating around in the water. Another handful of bodies were washed up on the beach. So we had no choice. We had to dig mass graves. And tens of bodies had to be buried in the sand on the beach. simply because they were all dead and how we can get them back. It was too many. These are some of the realities that Defense Force people go through, but more importantly, that those Haitians go through when they're about to make that voyage. They don't know. Some of them can't swim. They've never been on a boat before in their life. They don't know what they're going to meet. And if the weather gets choppy, it makes it that much worse. So people, it ain't easy when you see a Haitian that came that route. It wasn't easy. A lot of Bahamians will never make the attempt. Some of us, we might make it if we have an option to get a better life and be going through what some of them go through. But just throwing that out there so you can understand this thing is real. So I'm not going to give you any more stories. I'm going to open the lines. Maybe you want to share some stories with me. But I got a list of stuff to cover here. I'm just going to open the lines right now and see if we have anybody wanting to lend anything to this discussion. Or you just want to wait and hear me go through for the next hour. So, producer, we could open the lines, please, sir. Okay, people, the lines are now open. You can reach this show at 326-8255. Feel free to call if you want in on this discussion. There's a lot of people that can lend this, can lend that. So let's talk about, we just talk about lives being lost during that daredevil trip. You can imagine that in the 80s, I remember one time I was doing what we used to call a Haitian patrol. I would go off the western side of the Exomas, this area called Hawksbill Rock. We would anchor off Hawksbill Rock. That's one of the channels where the Haitian sloops would normally come through Novitas Light and then come through Hawksbill Rock and then come up the west side of the Exomas where they would pass Paratari and Farmers Key and then Black Point and Staniel Key, and they come straight up the chain. But back then they were trading, and they were allowed to come not only to Nassau but go all the way to Miami and go in Miami River, and they would do trade. And then you see them come back later on, and when they come back, you see a bunch of jugs and buckets and bicycles, and they got their cargo, but they have a whole heap of stuff that they're taking back to sell. And that was the way it was back in those days. That don't happen anymore, and I can tell you reasons why as we move along with the show. I see you call on the line, so let me just get this call on the line and take a pause right here. Caller, welcome to Maritime Matters.
Good evening, Captain Bain. This is Captain Bain.
Good evening to you, my friend. Boy, I know you got more stories than me, but how are you, sir?
Well, I have a lot of stuff. Just give some credence to what you would have said, because I too would have, I would have taken many Haitians back to Haiti in the 80s and 90s. We used to, sometimes after leaving Haiti, you drop off 500. Time as you reach back to Auckland, there's another 300 land. They said, go back to Inagua and carry the next 300 back. We've had situations where we had very much the exact same scenario where persons, I saw this human thigh on a grill. Well, this grill was like a car hub.
Right.
At the wheel of a car, and they were grilling this thigh on the car hub because that's what they had to eat. They indicated that some didn't make it, and they also indicated that some who were being unruly were thrown overboard.
Oh yeah, they have big fights on those boats sometime, and they just throw people in the water and let them drown.
Yeah, they said some were thrown overboard for being unruly, didn't want to listen or rule, and so I could say without. I mean that's a very tragic. Those are very tragic circumstances, and we really and truly from the Defense Force standpoint, I don't think we would have done enough to actually assist the crew members, people, the Defense Force Marines who was exposed to that type of trauma. and maybe it manifests itself in different ways over the years, but certainly that those were traumatic experiences, and as young people, young men and women, these things have affected, these things have far-reaching effect, and so yeah, this whole situation, the Haitian trying to get here for a better, in search of a better way of life, it's something that we have to, when we consider what these people go through, it's something that it have to be thrown into the mix of that consideration. However, I mean, unfortunately, our social system, our country cannot absorb the amount of Haitians who are actually trying to get out of Haiti, and that is why in one of your previous shows I advanced the proposition, and I think a few other people would have advanced this proposition the same, maybe yourself, where we formed this cooperative in place like Andros, where we could actually import labor and sort of import labor during the harvest season, and we could create these cooperatives in Andros and different places in the Bahamas, where we bring them in, they work, they're able to gain financial resources to assist them, because as long as that situation exists in Haiti, and I don't see no end in sight, we will continue to have people who make that treacherous voyage to try to get to a better way of life. And so I think there's opportunity for us to assist in that particular way, and I just wanted to actually give credence to the things that you were saying, because when the average Bahamian who would not have experienced this will really and truly would think that you are making this stuff up.
Yeah, boy, I got people who was on the force before me who got far worse stories than I would have. I know Herbie, you joined a couple of years after I did, but and you was more engaged in repatriation exercises because you worked on board the Fort Charlotte.
Yeah, and I also served in Haiti during the United Nations Peacekeeping Forces exercise in 1995. So I got to spend an extended period, 6 months there, straight working with the UN. That was the period when Rene Preval, the then president, he was elected president at that time. So I not only know Haiti, I know it very well. I've also had an opportunity to live among the people and experience some of the things firsthand. And a lot of people, over the years, a lot of finances, a lot of donations were sent to Haiti through the government and the like. And people always ask the question, you think, why is it that Haiti cannot get its act together, for want of a better phrase, right? Yeah. Not only did they have ruthless dictators who stole from the people, who actually robbed the country blind, but they have their own. With a lot of the people are illiterate, and so it's very difficult for them without, economics without literacy. It's fruitless, because if they have I always say they have their own way of doing business. And I'll tell you a quick story. I left Port-au-Prince to take over a base in a place called Jérémie in Haiti. Yeah, I heard about Jérémie. And during that time there, after I flew into Jérémie after speaking with the troops. I heard all this commotion in the streets. Now, working with the UN, you're supposed to know what's going on in what they call their AOR, your area of responsibility. And so I sent one of the sergeant major, I think a guy from Barbados. I says, go there and see what's going on. Let me know. Mm-hmm. And he came back and he says, you need to come and see this. And, it was hundreds of people coming down the street in mass. And they were chanting, we got a macoute, we got a macoute. And when I looked closely, there was a decapitated body that they were dragging through the streets. And then you see all it was a very gory scene, and they were very jubilant, and they had captured someone who was a part of the old regime, the one of the ruthless regime,
like the guerrillas,
back in the day, right? And so they have their own way of justice, they have their own way of doing things, and at the drop of a dime, they can rally and turn the whole place upside down. The same store that they would need to purchase from, they would get all enraged and they'll burn it down, right?
Yeah.
And so because most of the people are illiterate, it lends a very, very difficult task in getting Haiti where she really needs to be, and where she can actually absorb everything that the world community would pour into Haiti to be able to assist them, to better assist them.
Well, if I could just stick a pin right there, and say that I don't quite share that because these people don't have schooling that they are illiterate. Because I know back in the family islands, back in the day, I know of situations with my own family where some people didn't have the opportunity to go to school. So they may not have been able to read and write. But I can tell you, they had mother's wit, and they were very intelligent. They just couldn't read and write.
Well, when I say illiterate, right? If you have one person in the crowd who's a strong-willed person, he could whip that crowd up into a frenzy in the space of minutes.
Yeah, that's.
So even if, for example, we during the same time we had, say, Haitians would block the road, for example, in a place called Okai. Haitians would block off the road. The Americans calling, saying they need assistance. They have one of the Humvees surrounded. We went down there. We were able to talk them down because, of course, they had a little bit more. They would listen to us because we were of the same kind of complexion, and we were Caribbean people.
Right.
And they would listen to us, and we were able to get them to unblock the road so the traffic could move on. And one of the things I would have asked through an interpreter, well, why is it necessary to block the road and restrict access to the town? And they said they did it because the mayor of the town had promised to fix the road, which he didn't. So we had committed to them verbally that, hey, we're going to look into making sure the road is fixed, just clear the road, which they did. But at that same night, about midnight, we got a call that says, hey, we need to come, the mayor's house is on fire. They lit his house. We had to rescue him and his family and take them to Port-au-Prince that same night. And so they have a different kind of, I don't know, and I see kind of, I know it's probably Africana, because I see in a lot of the African countries, they operate pretty much the same way. And so that is why they have I always say they have their own way of doing business, because at the end of the day, when you think about people who understand law, order, how respect for human life and dignity and all that stuff, you wonder by some of the things that they do whether or not they do have whether or not they are whether or not they have common sense sometimes.
Yeah, but
all are the same.
All are the same, and you're gonna have in situations.
They have a lot of people who feel influence in some of the townships, and they create a lot of problems because the people believe in that leader and they follow them blindly.
Yeah, but if you really think about it, Ruby, yes, they do that. You got to remember that there's a lot of people that are going through stress from poverty, and things happen. You have some cities in the U.S. when things go wrong and these people start there, they're just uncontrollable as well. If you think about a country like Jamaica has a lot of people compared to us. They have millions of people, and you can get stories out of Jamaica that can measure up in many ways to the stuff that goes on in Haiti, eh?
Yeah, I think it's about African heritage. I would suspect that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Okay. So, but have you had any engagement at sea other than the repatriation side of it? Like I say, most of the Haitian arrests would have happened before I think you came back from Dartmouth. But since coming back from Dartmouth, did you have any experience where you encountered a Haitian vessel at sea loaded with people?
Hundreds. I would say hundreds of times, hundreds of cases. Really, every time we go back, certain time of the year, when, particularly during the summer months, when we have that strong the southeast trade winds moving through. Mm-hmm. You could find sometime in one patrol, you would have arrested 3, 4, 5, 6 Haitian boats. I have arrested boats with 300 people on board, those small 45-foot boats, and I've arrested boats with 500 on it.
Wow!
Right, so it was normal and regular. And I often people always say, well, why can't the defense force stop the Haitian boats from coming to the Bahamas? And I always say it's a very complex situation because you can blockade between, say, Inagua and Cuba, right?
Right.
You only could have so many boats out at a time, and for so long before they have to replenish food, replenish fuel, replenish people,
crew,
right?
Yes.
And Haitian boats, like you say, they could pass you. They could be a mile away from you sometime, and you don't see them, and you have to smell it. You downwind from them, you'll smell them before you see them. And if you blockade Inagua, they could go around the back, which they have done on numerous occasions, end up around Lake Warner and those places. Then some will come up further off Inagua, closer to Cuba, end up south Ragged Island, and some goes up in the back of Andros. We've had so many arrests, and that was basically, we used to call it, I don't know if you remember back in the day, we used to do South Beach, we used to call it Haitian Patrol. And that was normal and regular for them to land. Sometimes, you almost guarantee on any patrol, you will come across a few Haitian sloops and make those type of arrests. Of course, they would tie you up normally all day or for days in some instances. And so it was always a bittersweet moment when you actually make that arrest, because you now have to tow them to Nassau or sit down and wait until you have a support boat to assist you. So yeah, numerous times we've made those type of arrests.
Do you remember when we used to be sitting off Hawksbill Rock, and they would call it Haitian Patrol, when we would anchor right by the light?
Oh yeah, that's where that's the pass.
Right, and sometimes we take a patrol up to Nuvitas, then we go around by Water Keys, Flamingo Keys, and then we wake our way back up to Hawksbill Rock, and then we would sit there for a whole week. I mean, it was a boring trip, but yeah. I recall that on a daily basis we would see at least 12 to 14 Haitian sloops coming through, right? And eventually they started to use the freighters where they had an engine. And they would have a crew of people on board. We would go on board. They would all have passports, and they would all be nice and fresh because they would have bathrooms on these type vessels.
Yeah, and then some of them it was very difficult. Some of them you board them and said, "Well, where you headed?" We headed to the United States.
Yeah, and you can't stop them. They supposed to have free passage,
exactly.
Freedom of navigation. Right. It's hard to say you ain't look like you get in the United States. And these were boats that are actually trading.
Oh, of course. And then some of them had unscrupulous people who, when they get off South Beach, they tell them that is the United States. See those lights? swim to those lights. You are in the United States, right? And so that the problem is a very, very big problem. And I can tell you, no small country like the Bahamas can really properly address the situation because it's too big for us.
Yeah, but in hindsight, what I learned after that, Herbie, after I worked for the BMA, I was invited to the Maritime Safety Office, MSO Miami, for a meeting. And that meeting was supposed to be myself, the Director of Immigration at the time, I'm not going to call his name, and the Commodore Defense Force at the time, I'm not going to call his name. And we went, well, I went, and neither of those other two showed up. And the Coast Guard, the entity that they had there, pointed out to me, they said, Captain Bain, I don't know if you're aware or your country is aware, but we used to face the same thing when they trying to get into Miami. You'll have a Haitian sloop with about 14 people on board. And they'll say that, well, these are the 3 crew and they're 11 passengers because they know they can't carry more than 12 passengers, otherwise they'll be deemed a passenger vessel. So what we would do is we would tell them, well, you know what, we need you to just go right over here, drop your anchor, we coming on board with the dog, right? And they say, we didn't do that because we thought they had something else on board. I mean, we could check them out anyhow, but we did that because we wanted to identify who were the crew. When they go to do that maneuver, no more than 3 people would move and be taking part in that activity. And say, once we know who those 3 are, then we would tell them, look, these people, you are the crew. These people are not crew. Yes, they have a passport, but you know, they're not going to be coming here as passengers, because and they used to turn them away. And they say, and then when I thought about the amount of vessels that we would see coming up like that, and we would even board them and let them keep coming. And each time they come, they dropping off 11 people. And if you got 10, 12 of them every day dropping 10 people, you know how much people that is over a period of a couple of years?
That was big business. That was big business back then. And then when it was caught, when the authorities caught on to it, they switched it up a little bit. But that certainly was big business, and that was a way that they used to actually, for years upon years, until it was recognized what they were doing. That is how they actually filtered people into the Bahamas.
Yeah, that is correct. Because, you know, first they used to have the boat loaded with 70, 80, 100, 200 people. And they started they shift from that to having people coming on board. Because, you know, they when they started to afford to buy those freighters, they found a way to use the freighters without loading them down. But they come so often and so many of them that they were still kind of bringing in the same volume of people.
So let me throw something into the conversation. What impact do you think the farms in Abaco and some of the unscrupulous farm owners played in this whole into the current situation that exists today?
Well, I'm not sure that the farms in Abaco would have had a significant impact on the migration of these people by sea. I think they probably even flew those people in who they hired, right? So I'm not sure that this migration over the years had anything to do with any farm.
Yeah, man, because let me tell you.
I think it had a lot to do with people making money.
But once those Haitians got to Abaco, they would quickly integrate into the communities where the farm laborers were, and they became a part of those communities.
No, but those communities in Abaco, Herbie, had nothing to do with farming. Those people eventually moved to those areas. The farm was well away from there, you know. They didn't come there for farming.
I would like to hear from an Abaconian tonight and hear what their perspective is, because I personally believe that those farms were a means of very much a means of the Haitians of being integrated into the Bahamian society in a way that was very, 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 very that was undetected for a long time, and that it was successful. They were very successful in through those methods methods, and they quickly started families, and they became a part of that labor force for those farms and the like. And I believe that was those farms played a big role. And like I said, I would love to hear from someone from Abaco relative to this issue. But the problem too was further exacerbated over the years because of I would say, political will. And so...
You mean the lack of political will?
The lack of political will to address the lack
thereof,
situation. Yeah. And even unto the day, I think there is lack of political will to really fix this problem. We always in some way, try put a lot of emphasis on what other countries think or would think when we make decisions, but we have to make decisions with the best interest of the Bahamas in mind. So yeah, we have a long way to go. We have a lot of work to do. How we get there, we're gonna have to. The entire Bahamas gonna have to join our minds and our forces together to figure out how to fix this, because this isn't something that happened overnight. And it certainly is not going to be something that's going to be resolved overnight.
You're absolutely correct. But let me just chuck in here while you're on this topic, Kirby. The show is really a maritime show. So we have to talk about what happens once these people land. Because we talk about the voyage, which is very gruesome. But once they land, they have to disseminate themselves into this country. And they do it through shanty towns. There's no doubt that if we didn't have any shanty towns, it would be very difficult for those incoming Haitians, most of them can't even speak English yet, to disseminate into, especially New Providence.
Well, Captain Bain, let me tell you, I can tell you for a fact and from my own personal experience, there not only the churches, the Haitian churches, like Church of the Nazarene, to name one, because this is one that I personally had dealings with.
Yeah, we ain't want to call too much names now. We ain't want to call too much names on the show, but I hope you ain't got nothing slanderous to say about this church. Go ahead.
I've seen. I don't know if it's a church itself or if it's members of the church who had access to the church facilities. But I can tell you, when the troops sort of landed, they very often you'll see the church bus speeding, and at one point we chasing the church bus, and they had migrants on board and the like, and so this operation of getting people from Haiti to the Bahamas was very huge, and it still is a big operation. Now it has taken some of the methods that they use now legally, but are illegal. And I won't go into a lot of details concerning that. But at the end of the day, it's going to take, like the point that I'm trying to make is it's going to take a mammoth effort in order to fix this mammoth problem.
Well, in the news today, and very recently was an outspoken citizen from Abaco saying basically that where the hurricane came, Hurricane Dorian came, and basically wiped out those Haitian communities in the mud and the pea, they didn't build back there. They went further north and created new shanty towns because they know that people were monitoring those particular areas, and as you know, there's an injunction right now from the courts, so that government cannot proceed in breaking down these shanty towns, right? But the thing is, Herbie, I understand the injunction, and government can't break down the shanty towns, but how could you just sit by and allow more shanty towns to be built? You can't break them down, but that don't mean you could allow them to build, eh?
Well, like I said, it's political will, because we have a lot of things over the years, even after not only this particular hurricane and previous storms, And we also had fires where the government would have indicated that rebuilding on those areas was not an option. And sure enough, you go to bed. Once you go to bed tonight, tomorrow, construction almost finished. So these things don't happen. These things happen under the noses of the administrators, under the nose of the government, and they have to get supplies, which means that they have to go to the local hardware. I mean, it's just a matter of somebody saying, you know, I'm not gonna worry about if I become unpopular. I'm gonna fix this issue because it needs to fix, and that's it. And maybe they might have to sacrifice their political careers or whatever, but it is a job that requires somebody who's committed to that particular task.
I think, Herbie, we have situations where we have pocket groups trying to challenge and address this situation. It's people like you and I who need to get together. We can't do it independently or individually. We need to, if we're serious about saving our country from this for our children and our grandchildren, we are going to have to take action as a chorus group. We can really have to do it in concert, and we have to put pressure to the powers that be, because they're not going to do it without pressure. They're not going to just do it on their own. We know that there's a lot of corruption involved in this thing. We have to start calling some of this corruption out. And I mean, you was a Bain, I was a Bain, and we got another fella Bain, Lincoln Bain, and I want Lincoln Bain to know. He don't know me, right? And I don't know him personally. But we following Lincoln Bain. We following what he's doing. Some of the things people may say he's this and he's that, and I don't know all about that, and I don't care all about that. All I'm saying is I don't know anybody in the Bahamas who's doing more than he is doing or his group is doing to address this shanty town and this Haitian problem we have.
Yeah.
So some of us need to link up with those people, and that group need to get big enough so that if nothing else happens, at least we stamp out this particular illegal migration shantytown problem.
But Glenn, I think the wider Bahamian community, maybe the Bahamians are too lackadaisical, and I love that quote that Marlon always says, if you don't, and he borrowed that from the former Prime Minister, if you're not prepared to fight for it, you don't deserve to have it.
That is
right?
absolutely the case.
Bahamians, we need to get up off our butt, and we need to get involved, and we need to fix our own country. If you look worldwide, nothing, no real big problem, no meaningful change comes without some sort of revolution of sort, right? Where the masses will rise up and say, enough is enough. We want you, Mr. Government. We want you, Mr. Town Councilor. We want you, Mr. Mayor. We want you to fix this problem. So we, the Bahamian people, got to say, you know something, this is a problem, and be prepared to get this problem resolved. Other than that, you're going to continue to have pockets of groups of people who sitting out there like a voice crying in the wilderness, doing it, everybody saying, well, yeah, I support Lincoln Bain, I support this initiative, or whatever. But when time to go and stand up and say, count me in, we sit down home and we say, well, let's see what they accomplish, you know. And so as long as Bahamians continue to be docile, as long as Bahamians continue to be passive about everything, we're never going to fix nothing in our country. And that's the sad reality. You know, we have to have a paradigm shift. We have to have a change of mindset. We have to have people who say, you know something, I'm willing to die for this cause, because sometimes that's what it takes, right? And so we need, you know, and this not only with respect to what's happened with the immigration problem, but this is for everything that we hold near and dear to us, that we think worth fighting for, and we just simply don't have the guts to go there and do it.
I agree with you, my friend. You're not going to get any pushback from me on that. So I'm going to move to my second break, Herb, and I'm going to hang up on you now, but feel free to call back after the break because we ain't slow down on this. I can keep moving till this one over.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for allowing me a moment of your time, Captain Bain. And we have a lot of work to do, and I am a part of the fight, and so let's keep fighting.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's my good friend Oibi. He graces the show with his presence over and over and over again, and I want to thank him publicly. I always thank him privately. I don't see any more calls coming in, so I think it's going to be my time to just keep the ball rolling. We talk about those persons on those vessels being absorbed into shanty towns once the boat is landed. We see where there are transportation like buses, groups, religious groups, and so on, offer assistance over and over again. Right. There were times where they would land almost on the Defense Force base, etc., etc. We're going to talk about some of that when we return after this break. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Maritime Matters. Our discussion today is on Haitian migration from Haiti to the Bahamas. Please feel free to hit us up. Join the discussion. Our telephone number would be 326-8255. Again, that's 326-8255. If you have a contribution to make, a suggestion, if you just want to call in and say hello, please feel free to hit us up. So as we move along, we were talking about the fact that once the Haitian sloops land in the Bahamas, they need to be assisted somehow in order to avoid detection and all the rest of that. And that's big business now. There's a big network going on. But, that's just the way it was. But how was it back in the day? How far did we really come from dealing with this issue of Haitian migration successfully making landfall in the Bahamas? Because back in the day, we had no real way of stopping them. Our vessels didn't even have radars, right? So they started to come, and as the numbers increased, they continued to come, and as we started to put measures in place, they continued to come, and I mean, in recent times, I haven't been hearing much about a Haitian vessel successfully making landfall in the Bahamas. Not saying it didn't happen, but I certainly didn't hear much about it like we would hear all along. Because it started, first of all, like I say, with those sailboats. They used to go all the way to Miami. And what the Coast Guard did, the Coast Guard, call, I see you on the line, I'll be right with you. Thank you very much. The Coast Guard and the Caribbean community started something called the Caribbean Code, where if your boat don't meet those standards, they're not going to let you in port. Let me just get the line. Caller, thank you for calling Maritime Matters. Hello.
Yes, sir. I want to talk to Mr. Ben.
Yes, sir. Speaking to Mr. Ben. Yes, brother company. Go right ahead, sir.
Okay, my brother, let me tell you something. We are our own culprits in this country. What happens is that we bring people here to work. These people pay $2,000 for people to sign their work permit. What happens is that these people can pay their own work permit and be able to pay freelance. And I do time and plumbing. I hear you who want work permit bidding on job again. Something is wrong. Something is wrong, my brother.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You got a lot of.
That is what happened. Everybody freelancing. Then they bring their wife and family here. then they're not making children. If you're only making $250 as working as a farm labor, how the hell you could bring your children and then wife and having babies? I tell you, the only place to start for the Long Island.
Well, what I like to say about that, caller, is you have a situation where people are trying to create a better way of life for themselves. It's up to our authorities and us to stave that off. We can't just allow them. Oh, your radio is giving me some feedback. Yeah, just turn your radio down for me, please, caller. Hello? Okay, yeah, thank you very much. I think you started to mention Long Island?
Yeah, man. Well, I'm a Long Island man. We doing something. The Bahamas is like a man with 10 children taking care of 10,000. We don't need no more foreigners in a town like Bahamians. You get up there behind and start working.
Well, I agree with you 1,000 times, Colin. I can feel.
Let me tell you something. Everybody freelancing. What the government needs to do? If I tell you, I signed for a man who was a farmer. The immigration was supposed to go to the farm and show me the farm. Show me what you got for this man to do for a year or two. Everybody in this country is freelancing. Everybody. Jamaicans, Haitians, everybody freelancing.
Yeah, but
immigration.
We got to get our authorities to
everybody's paying. It's under the table left, right, and center.
Yeah,
everybody's making money. I see it.
We need to put enough pressure on our, because like you say, they're not going to land in Long Island. They're not going to land in Auckland. They're not going to land.
Let me get Long Island. If you come and give me $10,000, we can buy you food and give you change when you leave. The transport you have to look for Long Island.
Yeah, but it's difficult.
We own them up and we take care of them. We feed them good enough to answer all for them.
Yeah, but in Long Island, I don't think you all would even allow them to create a shanty town, eh?
No.
Because shanty towns.
We are responsible for a whole lot of stuff about it. We need the government, the Bahamas government, immigration needs to step up this place. Step up the place. Nobody who signed for wait to live for people, how wait for these people to do full time? How can you make $250 a week as landlord if you can bring your wife and children? And more Haitian women in this town than man.
So what do you recommend me do, caller? What do you recommend me do as a country or as a group?
I recommend that put white women up to $5,000. $5,000 for living costs. They only get make it hard. You make it do each. The Haitians on this. If you put white women, they wouldn't be coming here. Haitians are paying the Bahamians money to sign white permits for them. And the people who sign the white don't have a job for themselves. People I know, Lady Biden, when she makes $2,500 every year, that's two people she makes $5,000 just to sign away from it for people. And they're bringing no money.
Well, the reality.
We can always see the tourists coming from one day, they're bringing new money. All these people who come away with this just turn over the money that is in the country. We need new money to run this country. New money.
Yeah, we need foreign investment. We have foreign investment, but
everybody going there. Every station you see, everyone, we in the 50 years now, and we still have people can't speak English. We have people who have been in the box who can't speak a word English.
Yeah, but everybody coming in, the foreign investment is getting thin now, so we have to share with everybody else. But it's up to us as a country to put measures in place to ensure that even if they get in, because sometimes they're going to get in, but even if they get in, it's very difficult for them to be able to work. I mean, how many times do you know that the immigration is going on a job site where we know there are a lot of undocumented people working?
Okay, let me tell you something. I do this thing. You get a full grade, a guy who's a full grade Haitian, mother and Haitian, you get him on the immigration. You get him on the transport. They're looking up to their people. You know, when you come to the country, if you come to Bahamas, you turn and forth and they should ask independence to turn at the chance to be sport. We have to put things in place.
Well, if we allow them to create networks, that's what people do when they go to other countries. They create networks, and through those networks, they're successful. So we just need to put things in place so that we don't allow them to just come and take advantage of us.
What I'm saying is that if you come over here after a handyman, right? You should go down the road and freelance and you pushing lawnmower on the side of the road. If you wait for a company or a couple of companies, you're supposed to have a farm.
Yeah, but you're going to do that if there's no enforcement, eh? But if you have enforcement in place that will be checking on things like that, you wouldn't be able to do it.
How can you put a Haitian to catch Haitian?
Well, the reality is, if you don't have any enforcement, however we look at it, either we can have enforcement or we're going to have the violations.
Okay, let me give you a problem. A friend of mine got down south of America the other day.
Yeah.
He said, they called him and said, Mr. Cox, your plane leaves 10 o'clock tonight. If you miss your plane, you can leave Thomas. When you come back, you get a bill.
Yeah.
Everybody, immigration, the Indian department, if you come to Bahamas and the whole stay of time, they should put you on the billboard.
Well,
So you see what I'm saying? People are coming there, they're bringing people in freelance and waking and doing a whole lot of stuff.
well, the thing is, we the Bahamians know these things are going on, right? If we don't pull together as a team, just like they pulling together as a team, if we don't pull together as a team, this is not going to go away. It's only going to get worse.
I ride down Coffin Road. When they mess with Lincoln Bay, you end up big army down to deal with Lincoln Bay and who's Bahamian? They shouldn't be in.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I go to my road every day. If they have a boss, you pass it like that Coffin Road. Translation is down the road, waiting for somebody to pick them up. What's going on?
Yeah.
Only in the Bahamas.
What happens when a Haitian vessel loaded with Haitian lands in a place like your hometown, Kola?
Everybody in Long Island West Immigration, so they ain't got a problem.
So it's
You want
difficult.
an immigration officer.
It's difficult for them to be able to land in Long
Because we
Island.
pay. We in a place you to go.
Right. So you wouldn't be able to survive. You wouldn't be able to survive on your own because nobody's gonna assist you, eh?
No, so you know, but we got 50 you can make sure I tell the police and stuff like that. There's a boat coming, and before they reach me, I'm going to
So why can't we be doing that in Nassau and Abaco?
We like money too much. Money.
we like money too much. We like money too much, and we have shanty towns where they could be absorbed.
No, what I'm saying, okay, I fell out. I've been in the house saying that ain't got a permit number. Ministry right square, like nothing. Ministry, you never see ministry like on top of the fellas been in the road, they been in the road. You don't see ministry no number, but they're been in.
Yeah, but you know when
I ride on the back of the car and I'm in the back of the car, they got liquor store, they got bar, everything down there. Everything.
What they started to do, because when I was a young fellow growing up, uptown in Roll Avenue area, we had Haitians among us, but they didn't have shanty towns in those times. The shanty towns started to be built on the outskirts, mainly on the southern strip where the boats land, right? And those shanty towns were put there for a purpose. They were put there because they want to assemble and disseminate and assist the people, getting them to be able to assemble and mushroom into the communities eventually. And then eventually the shanty towns started to move further and further away from the coast. Now they're almost everywhere.
Man, look here. We gotta do something quick, fast, and everybody. Every Haitian woman pregnant. Every Haitian woman in this country pregnant.
Well, my brother, I don't know about all the Haitian women.
And they're talking about every Haitian, I born you. They go Haiti, pay somebody, you must see by the register or some doctor, and then they come out, they get my paperwork and then use it.
Yeah, but the thing is, you can't knock those people for having kids here, for status, because at the end of the day, some of our people go to the U.S. and do the same thing, eh?
Man, you see, the U.S. is a land of free.
Yeah, land of the free, home of the braves.
Yeah, we can't, when we get brought farmers, you can't talk about you can't mention that in the same bed.
I agree.
The U.S. land ain't touch it.
You're absolutely right. We cannot afford the absorption like they can afford the absorption.
Everybody. You got people with health card and ain't got status.
Yeah.
People with the human passport and can't speak a word English. I don't know if you recall the lady who got shot the other day. Her mother, who said been here for 30 years, can't speak English. Something's wrong, man.
Yeah, well, these things happen.
Something's wrong.
These things happening. But I thank you so much for your contribution to Maritime Matters. It's been a long time coming. I don't know where you've been going all this time, but
Oh yeah, I can tell you one thing. I've seen it all.
Yes, sir.
I've seen Haitian Washington that hard Northside Beach, and they got to bind them onto the tires.
yes.
So seriously, I don't know what's going on.
Well, we gotta be astute. We gotta pull together, and we probably need to help. We need to help our authorities.
Government
We need
need
to,
to go to Long Island and write the Immigration Act.
yeah, we need to help our authorities to help us, and we're not gonna do it unless we do it collectively.
But we in trouble.
I think we have pockets of drives now. We got to pull these pockets together, and we got to assist these people who are doing these drives and not just watch them and hope something's going to happen. We need to get on board, and I'm prepared to get on board. My good friend Herbie Bain is prepared to get on board, and here you are. I'm from Long Island. You ready to get on board? So I think at the end of the day, we're going to be able to pull this
We
together.
need a national ID. This will start up with a national ID. If you're a foreigner, you got a national ID. No problem. Get a national ID.
Well,
You must stay with a national ID. And make a law that if you come illegal, whoever follows you illegal.
I agree.
Make a law that whoever follows you, whoever comes, if you come in just, seriously, I always say, if you come in just be my consider. If you come illegal, if you have $1 million children, they're going to get 9 children and change plate. 9 children in the Bahamas and change plate.
Yeah, and that makes the situation so difficult.
9
right?
children in my country in their state.
But that makes the situation so difficult because now you wouldn't be able to take the lady away from her children.
This is so sad.
What we gotta do, caller? What we gotta do, right? We can't look at what already happened. What we need to do is how do we not allow it to get worse? What we need to put in place, how we need to put what kind of pressure and how we can apply the pressure to those that are in authority to deal with these things to ensure, even if we can change some laws around.
Okay, let me give you a prime example. You lock up a Haitian or foreigner in the detention center, right?
Right.
They family come out here. When they family always come out, you lock them up and send them back too.
Well,
That's what you do. When you come out there, make claim, Lord, if you know, even if you come out in the picture, you know your family illegal. So you lock them up and send them back too, and you don't have this problem.
Caller. Our authorities know where every single shanty town is in this country. You hear me? Every single one. They know where these undocumented people are working. They know these things, We need to put enough pressure on our authorities for them to act. We got the laws on the books, they're not being carried out. So until we as Bahamians start to put enough pressure.
When the Haitian get $2,500 in pocket, willing to give the immigration officer, hey, he broke, you ain't got no money. So he let you go and tell you run in the bush and he take you like $2,000 from you straight.
Yeah, so how are we going to blame the Haitian for that? It's the immigration officer we got to blame for that.
We are part of our own problem.
So we are part of our own problem. So until we could look ourselves at our face in the mirror, look at yourself in the mirror, try and correct some of those problems, because I don't blame any Haitian for trying to make a better way of life. I don't blame them. And if I was in that situation, I would have been trying to get out myself. So I don't put anything on them. The reality is we have to police our country. We have to carry the laws on the books. We have to be the ones to make sure, even if you're here, you can have a difficulty trying to work. And until we do that, they're going to continue to come in, and it's not only Haitians as pointed out earlier. It's people from all over the world, and we got Bahamians going into to the U.S. and doing the same thing. So,
the U.S. is a land of the free.
Yes,
if I get a hard on, I can fix it one time. The Bahamas in that side.
I'm just telling you that this migration problem is not only in the Bahamas.
The Bahamas is small. If I get a hard on, I can fix them. Way longer street out of them.
Well, that's the more reason why we should have more control, because we're small, eh?
My cousin let me figure that way. I said, there's no way we should have one secret inside the town. We don't know it.
Yeah. Well, I thank you so much for your contribution, my friend.
Take care.
And you take care too, man. Thank you very much.
All right.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that call is totally on point. I mean, are we just going to sit back and allow our country to be overridden? Because if you give people leverage, they're going to utilize it. We have to find a way to take away that leverage that got us to where we are now. because it's not going to just stop on its own. And we say the politician, yeah, the politician, unless the politician have pressure, he's not going to, the politicians will feel like, well, I have a problem with that too. But we need to apply enough pressure as a group. We need to get organized, and we need to approach this thing concertedly. We can't just sit by and complain. That's not good enough. That's not an option. We have gotten to where we are now, and we still surviving okay, But if you look at the projection, the trajectory of how this thing got to where it is now, and you do some maths on that, I don't know how much else would want to be around here 20 years from now if we don't nip this in the bud before it get out of hand. Nassau is the hub. Abaco is a busy area. Eleuthera is now fast becoming almost as busy as Abaco. And it used to be more back in the day, right? But when we talk about the other islands, because the opportunities on those family islands are not as it is in Abaco, in Grand Bahama. And people say, oh, but jobs in Freeport, Grand Bahama dead. Yeah, Grand Bahama may be dead because of the influx of outsiders. If those people were not allowed to go and disseminate into that, Grand Bahama may have had enough jobs for everybody, all the Bahamians, then more. But the reality, and I talk to people all the time, the reality with Grand Bahama is it has been infused. And it's very difficult once that infusion happens to try and now separate things. But we got to try and make sure there is a stop at a certain point. And that has to happen from us putting pressure on the authorities who will have to act. We don't have the authority to act. And we're not going to go to that extent. But the authorities who have the ability to act are not acting, we now need to make sure they start to do their part. The strategy started again with, you heard what Herbie had to say, we used to do what you call Haitian patrols. And, with the Haitian patrols, we would go in certain blockades, certain areas that we know vessels have to come through, especially those sailing through. We know the routes they were taking. So we block those up, and they would have to go further around and around. And after the Defense Force got this, Sandy Bottom project with all of those vessels, I think it was over $200 million, the Defense Force now have more capacity to blockade the routes or the traditional routes of those Haitian vessels. So they're now starting to go around the Bahamas because they realize now it is very difficult for them to land in the Bahamas in an area where they could get to a shanty town. It's difficult for them to land in Nassau for sure. Abaco, Eleuthera, because we have taken some steps to deter that. So what are they doing now? They're going along the Cuban coast, coming all the way around Andros and headed for Florida. Or they trying to get all the way around the eastern end and come into Abaco. Because gone are the days when they could just come straight up Dali and make a landing. You got a call on the line. Time is rolling caller, but that's no problem. Let's roll with it. You on Maritime Matters Live. Hello.
Good night, Captain Ben. How you doing, man?
Good night to you, my brother. How are you, man? Man, I missed you for the past couple shows. What's going on, man?
I was right there listening, I was right there listening, man. You had a great show last week. I was right there listening, man.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much.
Been calling.
Yeah.
Yeah, Captain Ben. Realistically speaking, when you really look at the source and at least this whole problem, they point at least it's said the Bahamian people, they keep on saying the Bahamian people is at fault,
Yeah, well, our authorities, because you can't blame the fella for driving his car unlicensed if we don't have roadblocks, eh?
Yeah.
He could drive that, especially if he know he ain't have no roadblock. He ain't get license in his car. But the minute he know they start having roadblocks, he get a license in the car. So
Yeah.
if you don't enforce what you're supposed to do, people will take you over.
Yeah, but it's a complex problem because it's been going on for basically since independence.
That's
before,
even
but it was
before
before independence.
That's right. That's right.
What really makes it a complex problem is that these persons, they are all in the system, have high positions, police force, defense force, all sprinkled to the government. Could be even as could be as high as like permanent secretaries, whatever. Okay.
Yeah, but are we going to allow this to continue to mushroom, or are we going to try and nip it in the bud so that yes, we have been infiltrated to a grave extent, but if we leave the door wide open like it was all along, I mean, what are we being?
Mr. Ben, let's keep it real now.
Yeah.
You also know that these people, like, they are in the homes of very influential people.
Oh, definitely.
And they are regarded as their confidant and basically their right hand, plenty of them. And they get what they want. And in those circles, you'd be surprised to know what be going down.
Yeah, I think the bigger problem, Brother Seminary, the bigger problem is our problem with corruption.
Yeah, that's where it's at.
That's the bigger problem. So
because behind it, when we look at these people when they come in, they spend like $3,000, $5,000 just to get on that boat to come.
Yeah, money is being made at every level, right?
Yeah.
But I'm saying that while that is happening, we know that's going to happen. But if we start to apply pressure as a citizenry, and we start watching, more attention will be paid to address these things. But if we keep complaining and we really put no pressure on the people that could make a difference.
It's like if a government give the call to stand down and anything that involves persons, especially from Haiti, if they do murder, anyone who do murder in the United States, they basically spend time and then they try to deport them to their country, spend the rest of the time in their jail.
Yeah.
Right. But that doesn't happen here. We don't know no kind of clause to say that if you're here, especially if you're illegal, if you're caught in any kind of, say, criminal activity or murder, whatever, you're going to be deported. You're going to be banned for life.
Okay, our time is running out. So let me just ask you, any recommendation you would have as far as what we as Bahamians can do to nip this problem in the bud and make sure it don't get worse?
I can tell you what, it ain't much BS Bahamians can do, because when we look at the real situation, it looks as if the government give the passports, the government give the whatever they want to give to these people, and basically place them above the citizenry, because they don't go to jail for, like, to say, all the boat captains. You say you used to put a dog on the boat, you could easily find the captain, right? All these human trafficking vessels that come in, only when they go to Miami they could find the captain. Only they could find a Bahamian captain when the 17 died the other day. But then a multitude of other boats that came in and never called for a captain, and the same thing happened over and over again. You know, and it's like, well, the effort isn't there, because you know what? If you're in the system in this country as a Bahamian, right? You have a ticket or whatever. That's going to be in the system on you, bench one for you for 10, 15, 20 years. They can put you in, okay?
That's right.
So if they have that ability to do that, why is it that these persons who come here illegally, they get the royal treatment, while the citizenry get treated like, I'm talking about criminals? Because, I mean, when you do a crime, it's a crime and you could face the law. And if you don't, like to say, be fit to be let go or whatever, you're a criminal, right? So, I mean, why not the same for these other people?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. You're not going to get any kickback from me on that. With that, my brother, you had the last say. Our time has expired. Thank you so much for calling as usual. And we shall keep in touch. Thank you, my brother.
Yes, sir.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our show for tonight. Thank you very much for tuning in to Maritime Matters. And again, our big sponsor, One-on-One Pharmacy, Bahamas Maritime Connection. Last word. With that, ladies and gentlemen, Maritime Matters out.